From the studio of your mom's basement comes a podcast by two idiots in a revolving door of legends and has-beens from the oldest university in Texas. This is Purple, Gold, and Getting Old.
All right, welcome back, folks. We have with us today none other than the legend, Preach himself. Preach, how's it going?
Good.
That is the least I have ever heard you answer a question in my life. Dude, my hair, what is going on? I should have worn hats like y'all. My hair is disgusting today. Whatever.
You're such a prima donna.
I know, it's turning gray. I'm gonna be doing the Johnny Knoxville thing pretty soon, which is only the third Jackass reference I've made with Tyler today. So,
language.
Yeah, I get bleeped first. Yes. Anyway, we can see and hear you much better now. So I'm just gonna start from the top, folks. We have with us today none other than the legend, Preach himself. Preach, tell us when you went to UMHB, what you do, and where you are.
I am in Dallas, Texas. I went to UMHB from 2005. I had different spurts where I was there. I come in, drop out, come in, drop out. I'm actually there right now. So since 2005, I've had an ongoing love-hate relationship with UMHB.
Tyler, who's that sound like?
I understand that. From the deepest parts of my soul, I connect with you right there.
That's great. Well, so they call you Preach. What do you do for a living?
That's none of your business.
Well, actually, that's actually kind of a valid question. I saw you just started something new.
I did. I recently started my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know if you all are familiar with the popular club Chickendales. Well, I started my own version. I started my own version of it. And as you know, Chickendales is known for male exotic dancers or erotic dancers, whatever you want to call them. Well, I decided to start a brand that kind of catered to women that had a fetish for larger men. It's called
Chris Farley's SNL skit.
Something similar to that. But it's called Chickendales. And we're going to serve fried chicken. It's going to have a fried chicken buffet. You're laughing, Tyler. You're not taking my drink.
This is amazing. No, because I don't know if is this a bit or is this real?
You never know with Preach.
Yeah.
Tyler, you remember the Italian restaurant we talked about starting?
I am not.
So Mr. Brett Myers here and I had this idea one time. A buddy of ours had a pizza place when we were in college, and he kind of had to go away for a little while to tend to some other matters. We're like, dude, I wonder if we could help him keep his business open. And we're like, let's start like a crossover between Hooters and Fazoli's, but it's us running it, and we'll call it Breadsticks. And we didn't even make it to the number crunch on that deal before it fell through.
Got it.
You don't have to worry about the numbers with us because we already know that we're going to make a profit because so many women have an incredible obsession with large men, large hairy men at that. I'll actually be one of the performers. I've already come up with my stage name. I'll be called Slinky. So there you go.
This is off to a fantastic start. Folks, we've actually got some serious stuff to talk about today, and I don't know how to transition to it at this point.
What'd you say, Tyler? I couldn't hear you, Tyler.
I said, how's that going to work since your Lupa incident, though?
My what? My Lupa incident. Oh, yeah. Well, I actually had a proper procedure. The procedure that I had is actually now known as the. So I had to go through I had to go through that, but everything's working now. A-okay, pristine. Clean and pristine.
Nobody will ever understand why that's bleeped, and yet I'll never be able to watch this without laughing. We're like 3 minutes in, and I'm crying.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what
crying
is this episode?
I know. Oh boy! All right, and folks, I'm not even going to get into the loofah incident. It was extreme and traumatizing, but
that might deserve an episode all on its own. This one does.
Today on Modern Marvels podcast. Well, I want the whole thing, a whole episode to be this fun. I know we've got some serious stuff to go over. Should we just get like the Debbie Downers done and get through some stuff that's been a little heavy, and then get back to the good times, or what? What do we want to?
Well, I think when we started this podcast, we wanted it to be this, just kind of be able to crack up about times of the past and catch up about what's going on in the future. And unfortunately for a lot of people, he jumped right into some controversy we were not expecting or wanting. I want to get that out of her way, and I want to hear. I want to hear from Preach.
I'm gonna quote Talladega Nights for the second week in a row. Let's just take this, put it right there in the box, and then we just never visit that again.
Yeah. I want to clear that up, though. It's not so much controversy. I just want the truth to be told. So it's not really a controversy. I'm not. If there was one person that I was upset at, and that's just because I haven't had the opportunity to confront him, and I won't say his name for reasons out of respect for you all's show. But I'll just say this: his name rhymes with. So that's the person that I have controversy with. But go ahead.
Gosh. This is another name I'm not going to say on the air, but I realized we went to school with somebody whose name was very similar to that. And I was like, what if we're thinking of the wrong person? And we did this whole thing about the wrong guy.
Oh my goodness.
Anyhow, so go ahead. I'm going to hand off to you, man. To kind of preface, so we were in the middle of this prank war in college, and what I didn't know at the time, I didn't know till after the previous episode, was that some of the things that happened, and I want to make very clear that we're not like Preach said, there's somebody he's upset with. We're not pointing the fingers at all of our guests. This won't be a podcast in the future where, if you're afraid to come on here because you think the following guest is going to rail on you. We're not facilitating that, unless you name drop Preach and it's not right. Long story short, there was a murder of an animal that got pinned on the wrong person, and there have been some muddy details over how it was determined who actually did it and things of that nature. So I'm going to hand off to you because we're already past my knowledge realm.
Okay, so let me go back here a little ways. So the prank, all that happened years ago. I mean, like maybe 10, 15 years ago, it may have been. We're all adults now. It was funny back then. But we fast forward. We're going to do a little bit of going back and forth in this story. We'll fast forward, after you guys start this podcast, which I think is brilliant.
Thank you.
But I listened to the story because I want to support my guys. So I'm listening to the podcast, and I get to a portion of the podcast where I'm hearing my name drop. And it was like Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained when he's like, at first you had my, now you have my attention and stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Let me see what they're saying. So I rewind and I listen to it, and I'm hearing this story about me. And I'm like, wait, no, this is not true. This is not happened at all. So let me explain to the folks at home that really want to know what happened with that whole, I think you called it the House of Justice. What did they call it? Hall of Justice. Hall of Justice. So, and I just want to say this. Garrett was being extremely nice by calling it the Hall of Justice because we all called it the tool shed. But anyway, what was happening was someone had TP'd their home. Okay, they lived off campus. Someone had TP'd their house, made a big mess. A squirrel got into it. Evidently, I wasn't there, so I don't know about this part. But from my understanding, the squirrel ate some of the toilet paper, choked on it, and died. Okay, they had this whole little funeral for this rodent and made a big deal out of it. They were talking about it on campus quite a bit. And it's no secret to many of us, while they came off as quite lovable guys, they also had a lot of enemies. Now, at the time, I wouldn't consider myself an enemy, but I just did like messing with people. Sincerely and wholeheartedly, I got a kick out of it. So I was with, I won't say this person's name either, but it rhymes with gosh, you know what? There's
Hopscotch.
Really hopscotch. Gosh, hopscotch. So me and Gosh Hopscotch are sitting in the dorms, and we decide, hey, we're bored, nothing's going on. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's go and TP their house again and make them even more upset. So we hopped into my Honda CR-V, the Gospel Express, and we head on over to their house. We're doing the little retcon, if you would. Or is it recon? I said retcon. We're doing a little recon work. We're watching the house, seeing if anyone's there, seeing if we are going to have enough time to go back and do this. So we go back after no one's there. We go back to the dorms, get the toilet paper. And while we were doing this, another guy from campus, I can't remember his name, but he said, hey, man, what are y'all up to? We were like, we're going to go TP somebody's house. He's like, I don't know him, but I want to go. So we said, come on. I told him, I said, well, you drive. And Gosh, you sit over there in the passenger seat. I'm going to sit back here in the back seat. So I let him drive my car. We pull up to the house, we get close enough, and Gosh is like, hey, slow down, because it looks like there's some movement up ahead. Well, it turns out that they are now back at home. So the time frame that we left and came back, they had made it back home. Zach, who was not on the last show because he couldn't make it.
The Jedi.
He actually showed up and walked up to the car that we were sitting in. And I'm like, oh, snap, this is exactly why I wanted to hide in the back. So I cover my head. Gosh, excuse me. Gosh
I knew that was going to happen.
Gosh has his face kind of covered up on the side with a hoodie on. And he comes up to the car and he knocks on the window. The guy lets the window down. And he says, man, what's going on? Why are y'all parked outside of our house? He was like, what are you talking about? I'm just sitting here having a conversation with my girlfriend. He was like, oh, okay. He's like, because we've been having issues with people messing with our house. So he's like, well, I don't have nothing to do with that, man. I'm just sitting here talking to my girl. So he says, okay. And he leaves. It's a bust. We're not going to be able to do it. Let's go back to campus. Go back to campus. Week or so later, this is all happening around the end of the school year. We all went to go. Everybody just about that was still on campus when saw the midnight showing of Spider-Man 3. That tells you how long ago it was. So we go and see Spider-Man 3, and I see Zach Clements there in the line. And he comes up to me, he says, I know that was your car, sitting outside of our house. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to have a straight face about it and everything. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He says, man, come on. I know it was you. I was like, all right, the jig is up. You called. I said, yeah, that was me sitting out there. We were going to TP your house, or me and Gosh. Gosh darned it. I keep messing that up. But me and Gosh I said, we were sitting out there. We were going to TP it, not going to lie to you, but we didn't do it. Y'all came back. Y'all called us. That was the end of it. He was like, okay, man, I appreciate it. He said, because I just knew it was y'all. The next morning, I wake up. I'm starting to get all my stuff for going back home. The campus is just about empty. I think graduation was that day or the next day or something like that.
It was coming up.
Yeah. I get these phone calls. And through these phone calls, I'm getting these voice messages from who is now saying things like, oh, well, if you do anything back to retaliate, then I will break windows. I will do this. I will do that, blah, 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 blah. And ends up calling me a very derogatory term that calls me that while he's telling me all the stuff, how he's going to kick my so-and-so and all. And I saved this voice message for years. I had told all my other friends about it and a lot of other guys. I was like, hey, man, if I ever see this guy, I just want y'all to know I don't care anything about him being Mr. Holy Roller or whoever he is on campus. It's just going down because I don't like being called that word, and I definitely don't like to be threatened. So I go outside because I have no idea that anything is even taking place. I just know I've gotten threatening phone calls, and that part has just already put me in a bad place. So I'm getting all my stuff. I'm going outside to my car to get ready to head back to Dallas. When I get to my car, I notice that there are heaps of trash on it. There's fecal matter. There is mud. There is a dead animal on my windshield. Also, there is what looks to be like butter, but what it actually was Crisco. And they put peanut butter all on my door handle. I mean, they messed my car up. And it took months for me to actually get it to work, because when it would get hot, those places and the cracks that the stuff actually got into, I wasn't able to get those. So when it got hot, it would actually melt and leak out from time to time. It took months for this to finally get out of my car. And I was very, very upset about it. And, but I never saw again after that, up until I saw your show last week. And I'm listening to the story and they're acting like, oh yeah, we had no idea that all this was going on. We just thought this was an attack, get preached, blah, 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 blah. Well, it wasn't an attack, but if you really listen to the story, there are some felonies that take place in there. Because one of the things that I had an issue with was Patrick, who was really the culprit behind the reason all this really got started. Because he's the one that actually T-Peteyed the house. And he made a little fly remark about, I shouldn't have told Preach. Well, yeah, Patrick, I lose nothing if I tell who really did this. So I told Zach, yeah, that was really.
And he said he did the he said he toilet papered the house. So
yeah. So I tell them that's how but they ended up getting me anyway, because I told them that Patrick was the one. I said we were going to do it, but we didn't get the chance. But Patrick is the one that actually did it. So they got me, Patrick, and Gosh Hopscotch's car. They dumped beer cans and trash in the back of his truck, which he was actually pretty upset about that, because he could have gotten in trouble because he was in an RA, and you can't have alcohol on our good Southern Baptist campus. So he was really furious about it. And I mean, this whole issue, I mean, it made a big deal. But Patrick tells this story last week. He says that the way they found out that Patrick got caught was that Zach takes me and duct tapes me to a chair and holds a lamp up to my face. And like, I guess he's doing like a 1940s interrogation thing on me, I guess. But not true, because first of all, felony, if that would have been the case, kidnapping, but no, there was never a time where, and I messaged every last one of them guys after last week's show. I was like, hey man, where's all this stuff about y'all interrogating me and taping me to chairs and all this other kind of craziness? But anyways, yeah, Zach was like, I don't know, I have no recollection of that. But it's not that big of a deal. But I didn't appreciate, like, come on, man, if you're gonna tell a story, tell the whole thing, like tell the truth.
When your parents, when you're a little kid and they're like, I'm not mad at you, I'm just frustrated. Right now you're dropping I was just frustrated. I got to hear you pissed on the phone the other day.
Oh boy. Oh yeah.
So, and I will say 2 quick points I want to make on that is the points I'm about to make are on the lighthearted side of things, but I don't want to brush by, because I do want to address some other stuff too. On the lighthearted side of things. So the squirrel thing didn't start a prank war between the Hall of Justice and the McLean Pirates. It had existed before when they all lived together. It had died off. This was like, because I remember, as you call Gosh Hopscotch, he was kind of like, dude, this is going to freaking start the whole thing up again. Like, he was nervous. Our friend John was nervous, and I'm dropping his name because he might be on a future episode. Captain Oblivious here, who had been studying for a Spanish final all week, was out of all of it. And usually I was with y'all. If something was going down, I was with y'all. But that week, I remember I didn't see anybody really for about 3 or 4 days. And so by the time all this gets to me and people start asking me questions, I didn't have to play dumb, because I really was like, I don't know. So on the part about the duct tape, and I bet that happened to a lot of people. And I bet, in Zach's defense, I don't want anyone to think these guys are really like kidnapping people. They were probably friends of theirs they thought were involved. As a judge, they probably allowed themselves to be like, okay, yeah, you can interrogate me. When I first heard that, my first thought was 2 things. I thought, okay, since Preach, you and a couple of those guys and we were theatrical. We were always making videos. We were always doing just goofy stuff. So I thought, okay, either he was like, yeah, tie me up, this could be funny. Or it was like, that didn't happen that way, but Patrick heard it from Zach wrong and something, and then went ahead and told it. So I'm like, I think on that deal, there were some points that, yeah, it made for a funny story, but I'm glad you've gotten to kind of correct it. Now, for the part about the voicemail, I do want to say that y'all Preach knows this. I'm just saying this for the sake of the podcast. Tyler and I had never heard that before that. So we didn't want to, make light of a situation where somebody received hateful, racist, threatening voicemails. B, we didn't want look, we didn't go into it knowing that, because then it would look like we intentionally brought our last guest on so we could trap them in an accusation. That's not the case either. It's a bad thing that's been brought to light. And so, being like Switzerland, we are providing every side an opportunity to tell what happened. That way we're not kind of like provoking one side over the other, if that makes sense.
I want to follow up on that real quick if I can. We started the last episode with an intro, and I joked about how, where's the line between pranks and assault?
That didn't age well.
No, that didn't age well. Because I think when you're young, dumb, 18, 19, 20, you sometimes you don't know where the line is, and you cross it and you grow from that. But one line that's like, to me, just very clear always is like just not being a racist. I don't think that's that difficult, or it shouldn't be. And that really shocked me, that someone would say that to you, Preach. And I'm sorry it happened. It's my question to you, I guess, is should that have shocked me, or is that something that, because you seem very nonchalant about it, to be honest, was that something that was maybe more common than I realized at UMHB?
I think in certain circles it was. It wasn't. I mean, certainly on the whole, there were majority of the people that I met, well, not majority, half of the people that I met at UMHB were decent individuals, and we all have a sense of humor. We've all played. I've got he's still my best friend to this day. We were out and we were celebrating our birthdays and
happy early birthday. Happy early birthday.
Thank you so much for that. Nice shout out, even though I had to remind you. but no, I've had people say that around me that are not Black. Not saying it, in a demeaning way. Some people, it depends on where they're from. I try to give everyone a little bit of understanding. But when it's coming from a place of like anger and hate, that's when it makes me uncomfortable. That's where I had issue. But it shouldn't necessarily. It doesn't. The reason I'm so nonchalant about it is because I was never friends with any of those guys. I just didn't associate with them. I pretty much bounced around from group to group to clique. I didn't really have a set group. I'm a wolf pack of one, as Zach Galifianakis once said. But so I didn't hang with certain people because I knew that those were the kind of people they were. So hearing him say it didn't really shock me. It just angered me.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him being the kind of guy to use that kind of language. But whatever.
I will add to that though. There was a group that considered you one of their own, and I know everybody goes their separate ways and stuff over time. But I know in McLean, like, Gosh Hopscotch's room, his roommate, me, you, and a couple other guys or so that would go in and out of the room. It was a pretty tight knit group there for a couple of years, and it's despite how people move away, they drift, all that. There was some time there where I think that it was kind of a little bit of a wolf pack, I would say.
Oh yeah, I mean, we definitely had a good time, and there were floaters that came in. Blake Smedley would be there sometimes he would, and this prank thing, we were not just going to TP. That was just a little small operation just between me and Gosh, but the actual one of the biggest pranks that I was ever a part of, because I didn't even know that there was a prank war. I just remembered the whole, and you were there that night. We had a whole PowerPoint presentation and everything on about the filling up a room with shredded paper. So
false.
Yeah.
We had a PowerPoint and 3 subsequent meetings held no earlier than 12 midnight. 13 guys, y'all. 13 guys in one dorm room, a PowerPoint, rules, regulations, and an affidavit basically that said, if you snitch, you become the new target of this prank that will go down. Yeah, that one. Originally, I was going to have kind of like all the McLean guys on here at once. I still have one of them that's going to try to come on for another episode. But to tell our audience, it was called Operation Paper Flood. And what we were going to do is, I think we were going to get 80 bags of shredded paper. When I say bags, I don't mean Ziploc. I don't mean a trash bag. I mean, there were industrial size, like 5-foot tall bags that the library would put out at UMHB filled with shredded paper. And Patrick worked in the library, and he was kind of our point guy who would text one of us and say, hey, there's a book due at the library. That meant, hey, the library just put out their stuff. So we would go pick up the bag, bring it to the room, and the room we kept it in had a chart system. So we knew which ceiling tile had which bags in it. And we made it to 78 out of the 80 bags. And the way it was supposed to work was, and I think I still have the PowerPoint. So maybe I can slide this over my narration here on the episode, but we had the cameras blocked so nobody could read the RA cameras. We had a few guys that were going to stake their trucks out on campus, radio in to keep an eye on everything. We had an RA that was going to have a quiet time with his Bible out front and a walkie-talkie. Every detail was fine-tuned, and the secrecy was fine-tuned to where this thing couldn't go wrong. Well, I walk into Gosh Hopscotch's room one night, and there's only 5 of us there, 4 of us there from the actual 13. And he said, we're tired of waiting. We're just going to go get this random guy's room. We were supposed to get the head RA's room, and everything was planned perfectly. And I had just seen the new target, a guy named Paul, out on campus. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. He's out with a girl. He'll be back anytime. And well, I was voted down 4-1. So we each grabbed a bag, wrapped our faces in cloth, went down the hall. I couldn't get the cloth to attach. They said, let's just go. We go downstairs, down McLean, go into this guy's room, and we just start unleashing these bags. We got the room shin deep. It was almost up to the knees. And just so everyone knows, and we don't get accused of another fire hazard like I admitted to on another episode, we took the little plastic plugs and we put those into the outlets. So we were dumb, but we were smart enough to know, okay, let's not
at least
burn
you
the place
thought
down.
of that.
Right.
I would have not even thought of that, and I would have burnt the place down.
And let me tell you something, Tyler. It was amazing.
It was
This
great.
was a beautiful sight. It was a beautiful sight, no lie. But what's something that caught us off guard that we did not factor in and expect was so much dust and stuff. Like, it was a cloud. It looked like the room was smoking because all of this dust was in it.
And we're dressed like ninjas trying to be stealthy, but we're tripping over everything. And like, you know, those the ball pins at McDonald's, we're practically in one by that point. And a guy who, I won't name drop him, let's just call him Saint Jeremiah of the cathedral, was out front with a Bible, and he had the walkie-talkie. So that part stayed. And he radios in, and all I hear is static. Goes, out now. And I was like, what? Come again? He goes, get out now. And so I turned around. I was like, dude, y'all, we got to go. We're only halfway done, but we got to go. And preach. He goes, Garrett, shut up. And I was like, all right, suit yourself. I throw the walkie-talkie down. I just take off. And I'm going to have to bleep myself here, but I heard preach like, oh, he's serious. And so about that time, we all take off running. And preach, help me remember. I don't remember if it was you or Patrick. One of you rounded the corner and the bag caught on the rail and it ripped off. And so or maybe even we left a paper trail, literal paper trail, all the way upstairs, down the hall, down to Hopscotch's room, where it pointed clear as day to where it was coming from.
I believe that did happen. I was not the one. I didn't touch any bag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was in the room and like watching y'all do it, but I was like in between the room and walking down the hallway trying to see if anybody was coming, because of
That's
course,
right.
It wasn't just Paul that we had to worry about. We had to worry about Wendy or some anybody coming in and catching us doing this, because it would have been a problem.
Keep in mind, our ringleader had just been appointed head RA. All right, he was going to succeed the guy we were originally targeting. I had just been hired as an RA for the next year, and I didn't want to lose that job. So we got up there, and it was like, how am I going to get back to my room? So I tried to conceal my face best I could, but we had been caught in the middle of this by a guy who he was just at the water fountain in the middle of the night. And we basically said, you saw it, now you're part of it, and we'll get you next if you tell anyone. We pulled him in with us. Long story short, I'm sitting there in Hardy Hall with Andrew Freeman and Landon Taylor, wherever y'all are. I hope you're doing well. And the head RA comes in, the guy who had no idea he was the original target. And he sits down. He's like, hey, do you know anything that happened in this room last night? And I was like, yeah, I heard about that, man. They got that guy good. And when he heard that, he goes, okay, well, I'm going to need you to tell me everything you know, because this other guy, the one we had caught, says he knows who did it. And right now the charge is criminal mischief for whoever we find out did it. And Landon looks at me, he goes, criminal mischief. So the head RA leaves, and Landon and Freeman just beeline out the door. They're like, we weren't here. We got nothing to do with it. And I go downstairs and I see this guy in the quad about to talk to the head RA, and I point at him and I go like this. I was like, shut up. And about that time, my phone rings, and the guy whose room we got, he called. He's like, get in here, clean this now. A couple of the culprits were there. Credit to Gosh Hopscotch. He stood there and took the blame. The guy who did it in the room, he figured out that I did it, and I was on the camera, so I was guilty. But he kind of took the bullet for everybody. He said, nope, I forced Garrett into this. Nobody else had a part of it. And we found out the criminal mischief thing was made up. And so,
it's paper. Get over
it's paper.
Yeah.
11 people got off the hook because he took the bullet for us that day. And we didn't tell anyone else who it was. Now, fast forward to 2016 or 17, almost like a decade after this. So 2016, I'm at dinner with Josh Gibson, Quincy Daniels, a couple other folks. And in passing, I thought Josh knew about this because he was one of the guys that lived in the room we pranked. And he said something, and I made a comment like, yeah, kind of like when someone fills your room with shredded paper, ha, ha, ha. And he looks at me, and he was like, that was you. I was like, I thought you knew this. So 10 years later, he figured out who made a swimming pool out of his room of shredded paper.
Yeah, that's always an unfortunate thing for the people who get like pulled into the pranks that really go sideways and end up more intense. I had a roommate one time. He had some friends that he wanted to prank, and he pulled me into it. And he got this like Jason face mask and a large knife. And we went and like, I was just with him, went like knocked on some girl's apartment window with the knife. And then we got the cops called on us because it wasn't the right apartment and the girls didn't know us, and we're freaked out.
There's more to that than you know, actually.
There.
Yes.
Wait, do I know the person that was
the thing you don't know is that whole thing was my idea, and it backfired quick. I was an alumni by this point, but I was visiting Hannah, and we just wanted to have a guys' night, so we did. A couple guys didn't show. We got kind of bored. I was like, all right, time to prank somebody. So we bring this guy in a like serial killer mask and a really long knife that I don't know where he got that. I was like, hey, our friend lives over here. It was one of Hannah's friends. And we were like, let's go prank her. They'll freak out. So we can hear they're having like a movie night or something. It's dark in the house. So we kind of like put the knife on the window and make this horrible noise, and this like mask looks in it, and just we hear like a bloody murder scream from inside the apartment. We're cracking up laughing. We got the wrong apartment. So it was not someone we knew that would have laughed it off. The cops show up and they're like, what's going on? I was like, I swear there's not a serial killer here. I can explain. I didn't know how to explain. Cop opens the door and there's 3 girls in the corner of their apartment hiding under a blanket. And I was like, I feel so bad right now. This did not go like I thought. One of them was sister. And I was like, hey, her brother was my roommate. She can vouch for me. She probably did not want to vouch for me. I screwed up. God bless her. She said, yeah, I know him. It's fine. And according to, they're still kind of pissed about that. But
well, the funniest thing about this story so far is to me that someone actually took the time out to call campus police and not 911.
Hey, there's a serial killer here.
Be right there with me.
Campus cops will do it. Yeah,
and they only sent one.
So they weren't that scared.
Well, it gets even better. You think you escape stuff when you're no longer out of school, right? Fast forward to graduate school at Texas A&M, when my final project I have to do, I have to present a like major HR project. And I thought I recognized one of the names on my team. And this woman says, did you go to UMHB? Are you the Garrett Smith that went to UMHB? And I'm like, I don't know if I should answer this honestly. Yes. And she said, I remember you. You scared the crap out of my roommates one time with a knife. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's okay. I wasn't there. They were just still shivering when I got home. I'm like, great. I traumatized somebody.
So I don't remember you being a part of this at all, which is hilarious now, because I can add it to my thick file of things that Garrett Smith has got me involved in, which could have or did get me in trouble. So there's a long list of them.
Tom, I was saying, Garrett he's always there for some reason. Like Garrett is always there. His hand is always in the pot somewhere. Even if it's in a small passing, he's there.
You're right. He's always around.
You know those conspiracy theories where like all these
Dr.
national
Blossom.
tragedies and there's somebody in the background and all the pictures like this guy was at every single national historical
It's a
event.
conspiracy. What if Garrett is the man behind the curtain?
I believe it. You know, listen, we one time found a Freemason stone on the campus of UMHB, and that became this big mystery of what did the Freemasons have to do with this school. And he is a Freemason now. So
You know who else is?
I don't know what that means, but I'm just starting to connect some dots.
You know who else
Illuminati. Illuminati all through your body. I don't
Preach,
mean that. I'm actually a member of that organization.
Yeah.
I don't mean that.
Okay. Oh, man.
There's too much. There's
They're everywhere.
You're always surrounded.
Yeah, look. No, the Freemasonry is nothing like the Illuminati. Well, I don't know. I'm not a part of the Illuminati, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Have to say, you know?
But,
Yeah,
but no.
I've only halfway. So one of the reasons I mean, there were a lot of reasons to join that. One reason is because I was like, I'm going to find out the story behind that stone in our campus. And all I've gotten to, and nothing secrecy, is that, you know, Tryon, Huckins, and Baylor were all Freemasons, and their good buddy was George Truett at, you know, the Baylor Truett Seminary, who was also a Mason. So they probably were just sitting in lodge one night like, yo, let's start a university. Yeah, sounds good. So that's probably all there is to it. But
well,
you know,
all I know is we have to solve this mystery. So we're probably going to have to steal Judge Baylor's body.
And then duct tape it to Patrick's car along with Crisco oil and peanut butter. But you know, I can kind of shed some light on it. See, I just segued right into that. Pow! But what
you even imagine?
The whole I'm pretty sure that's a felony.
Yeah, that one's a little more serious.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But whenever you see the square and compass on those cornerstones, it doesn't necessarily mean that people there it had anything to do with Freemasonry.
Right.
I mean, a building is made by Masons. So, you know, they typically have cornerstones. You'll find them on churches.
Yeah.
You know, my church, the church that I grew up in, it had it on there on the sign for the longest. I didn't even pay attention to it until I actually became a Mason. But yeah, typically it has nothing to do with just the builders.
Yeah.
Got to have a square and a compass to build a building, you know.
Yeah. It's a good deal. It's a good deal.
Mystery
trying to think.
solved.
Mystery solved. Almost. Well,
or
Tyler,
am I lying to get you off the track?
There you Tyler, I know your phone is dying. Preach. Is there anything else you want to go over? Because I have a couple of generic questions I want to ask you. And I don't want to revert to anything too serious or like get us like to end the episode on a sour note, but I think it'd be cool for us to link Dr. O'Rear's steps he outlined for addressing racism, because we totally glossed over this earlier and I meant to bring it up. It's the first time I've ever seen like a plan for addressing racism. And I don't want someone from the school to be like, those guys made us look racist on this podcast. No, again, we're an unaffiliated podcast. And I think in a positive light, we can show what the school has been proactive on. So I will link Dr. O'Rear's plan that he came out with last year under this video.
Oh no, the university is very, very kind. It was a humbling experience while I was there. Like I said, for every one bad situation, I can think of 100 others that were totally great. Some of the people that I met there were great. And it's just like with anything, any organization, any school, any church, you have some people that are good, you have a few that are bad. So, you know, no, on the whole, my experience at UMHB was awesome. If it wasn't, then I wouldn't still be there right now. So.
Well, that actually segues.
What I was supposed to do, I wouldn't be there right now. Instead of meeting you at random parties. Once again, Gary, why are you of all people? You're a square, man.
Preach. I don't know if we could ever have a Seis de Mayo episode of this.
Hey. Yeah.
Every Cinco de Mayo, I'm like, all right, I want to celebrate some culture, you know, have a margarita. Then Seis de Mayo hits the next day, and I'm like, oh yeah,
that night,
night. Anyway, well, that segues perfectly into the questions we ask every guest. And what was your favorite tradition or thing you were a part of at UMHB, and what is one you wish you'd been more a part of?
The thing that I really liked at UMHB, I don't know if it was necessarily a tradition. It had nothing to do with the school. What I did enjoy doing though was my time that I was supposed to be in class, and I would be in the sub playing dominoes and actually saying hello to my professors that I was supposed to be in their class just a few minutes ago, and they saw me downstairs playing dominoes and being as loud as I can be at it.
Did you win?
You know, I did like when we would they used to do it. I don't know if they still do it or they kept it going, but during Welcome Week, they would rent out the water park, summer fun.
Yeah.
And man, you can't let college kids have access to a water park like that, because we'll do the most dumb things and don't care about the consequences. I'm like, what are you gonna do? Sue me? Like, I mean, Marshall, we went to Summer Fun, which is a water park, by the way, to everyone that's listening doesn't know what it is. It was me and Marshall Reeves and Ryan Ondowski and I mean, it was a
you remember the J Train?
J Train.
No. I won't drop his real name, but everybody called him J Train. He hung out with the guys you just mentioned. I just remember we're walking up to that top water slide and there's the valve, he walks over and just screams.
Oh, I know J Train.
Yeah, he's like, let's turn this dial. And he just starts like heaving on it. I'm like, we're going to die.
Yeah. So we're at Summer Fun and we were getting ready to go down one of the tallest slides that they had up there it was open. You had to go down on a float, right? Mm-hmm. You had to have a float to go down it. We didn't care. The lifeguard literally told us not to do it. He could see it in our eyes. Like, we literally, as we were running up and loud, and I'm not going to say whether or not some booze may or may not have been involved in this. I don't know. But we get up there, we're loud, and we look, and the lifeguard looks at us with and he knew. And he was just like, stop. You can't do that. And we were like, we're going to do it, man. You better move. You're going to do it. And we all just jumped down without the inner tube float or whatever. We're going. And so, like, Ryan Owendowski went before me. It was like him and then me and then like Marshall Reeves and Tyler and all them. Not this Tyler, but the other Tyler. We're going down this thing. And I mean, we are hauling butt. And this, I look up, because I'm just laughing, having a good time. I look up over me at one point. Ryan Owendowski has stopped himself on the water slide, and he's hanging over the sides, man. It scares the bejesus out of me. Like, he wasn't hanging like over the outside, but like he was like, okay, so you know how the two sides of the tube were? Yeah. He had one leg and one arm on this one leg and one arm on the other one, and he was just hanging out. So like people were literally sliding under him. But yeah, it was ton of fun.
I need to get him on this podcast with J Train, because those guys' stories, man. They were before Andy Archibald. Before Andy Archibald brought the train horn to UMHB football games, it was those two guys who had this weird pressurized, like, long air horn that got all these letters written to the school because of how loud it was. Was that Summer Fun night the same one? Like 20 of it? It may have been the same moment you're talking about. There were like 20 of us in line, and we all just ran, because once the people at the back saw the people at the front, everyone's like, oh, I guess we're doing this. They're letting us go, which they weren't. But at that point, it was like ants on the hill.
We didn't care. Like, I don't care. Move. Like, I'm going to do it. Only thing you're going to do is kick me out and tell me I can't come back. And this is, Summer Fun is like 10% of Hurricane Harbor here in Dallas. So it wouldn't have been a big deal if I had been banned from it.
Well, I remember, so this line of people goes diving down the slide, and I'm about halfway back. I'm like, okay, it's my turn. If I don't go, I'm gonna get run over. So I go and I swan dive, I into the thing, and y'all must have started. So I guess Owendowski was off the slide by then. I thought it was all fun and games. I knew there were a bunch of us that were going to hit the bottom at the same time, but I didn't take into account who was behind me. There was a lot of people knew our friend that you mentioned, Blake Smedley. I'm trying to get him on this podcast. What people don't always realize is that there were at least, I think, 3 or 4 Smedleys that went to UMHB. The 3 brothers were like the Clash of the Titans. These were big, scrapping dudes that could pile drive you and put you in a concussion. They were all behind me, at least 1 or 2 of them. And I look behind me and I'm just like, oh, this is not going to end well for me. And sure enough, I hit the water and I couldn't like angle it good enough because Blake Smedley just got right down on top of me. I was like, this hurts.
Hey, and I'm going to tell you how strong he is. I was at a little get together. We were adults. We were out of college at this time. we were having a barbecue over at Brandon Fulcher's house, and they had a keg there. And so it was an empty keg at this point, and they decided that they wanted to do some competing. I've seen Blake Smedley take an empty keg, even though it's empty. You know, a keg is heavy.
Yeah.
And I've seen them go into contests over throwing, seeing who could throw the keg the farthest. And you know how big Brandon Fulcher is. You know Adam Hoffman. He's a pretty strong guy. Blake Smedley was like, it was gone, man. Like he's strong. That was one. He was one of, out of all the people I met at UMHB, and this is not to discredit. I've got a lot of friends there. Some of them I still talk to. Some of them I don't know where they're at. But Blake Smedley was definitely one of the funniest people. The one that I would say that I made the most. I made a lot of memories, but I would say he was the one that I made the most memories with. And it's so ironic because the way he and I became friends was, he was telling me a story about Zeus randomly in Hardy Hall. We were at lunch. And he just sits down, and I guess we just are supposed to know each other because I'm preaching, he's Smedley. And he just starts talking to me, and so I'm talking to him back, and he says, man, did you know that Zeus used to come down as an eagle and then make love to human women? We were best friends after that. Like, that's all. You just told me everything I need to know about you, brother. You're going to fit right in with me.
I want to know how that went if he did that to a female. Like, hey, did you know?
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably would have been in Dean Martin's or Steve Theodore's office at that point. Yeah.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Dean Martin.
I didn't know he. Did I know he
died?
Yeah, very recently. It was probably a couple months ago. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. So rest in peace to him.
That man had the voice that could soothe the most savage of beasts. Yeah.
He could also yell at you too. I know.
Yeah, no. Dean Martin, he sang the national anthem at one of the staff versus student softball game, and I had no idea the man could sing. But yeah,
he
other
sing
than
Easter pageant.
Yeah, he did do that. I remember that. But to go back, so. And then I say the thing that I wish that I would have participated more in were the football games, and even some more of the I didn't, because I really didn't have that much school spirit. I loved going to school, but like I wasn't over there with the couch crew banging on trash cans. Can
I just say though, as mascot, and I don't want to incriminate you for any alcohol that may or may not have been consumed, you and a few guys on the other end had a really good time. And I remember as mascot, I could feed off of that because I'd walk down there and I'm like, there's preach. I'll get a reaction out of this.
Oh man, dude, I used to call you out because I knew it was you. And we did. Yeah. Me and all the guys that I used to hang out with. Yeah, we sat always on that same end. And
there were three loud sections: the couch crew, you guys, and Jarrell's dad up in the middle of the stands.
Yeah, proud papa. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But well, yeah, I wish I would have done. I wish I would have taken more. Man, I never got dubbed. I made a great Crusader Nights video. Never got the chance to participate at Crusader Nights. I mean, it was a lot of things that I missed out on. You know, my mind was a little bit everywhere. I was experiencing a newfound freedom. So, moral of the story is, kids, be very responsible when you go to college. Don't worry about the wrong stuff.
It's a double moral of the story. You haven't quit. Like, you're still plugging.
I'm still plugging. Now I can't speak for what's going to happen next month, but right now I'm still in there. I'm hanging tight.
Well, we ask everybody what their favorite sports memory is, and I wonder, would it be like that with those guys at the football games, or would it be the Golden Girls dodgeball team we were on?
I was just gonna say no. I mean, I like the football games. Basketball games were a little bit boring, but I loved when Tim Lytle, David Ray, and Matt Cass and all them guys. Yeah, the Goose. Yeah, I loved when they played. But the things that I had the most fun at was when they brought in intramural dodgeball, and Blake Smedley and them had killed. Oh my gosh, man. Blake was acting just like Ben Stiller's character from the movie Dodgeball. He didn't drop character. Like, he was out there with the whole hissing thing, all of that. It was hilarious. But yeah, that was probably my greatest sport.
We had a guy on our team who was part Jewish by birth, and when he went to turn our form in, he tried to turn it in as the Jew crew, and they were like, "You cannot be the Jew crew," and so he brings it back to us, and there was another person at the table. I'll not incriminate, but he's like, "Can we be the Gilfs?" And we're like, "No, let's tone that down to Golden Girls." And so we wore all these just like bright yellow shirts, and we were the Golden Girls. But
I think I actually was on that.
Yeah, you were
on that thing. Yeah, I think I was.
I think we lost Tyler. You led us in a prayer, and like Lord, help us track these adversaries down. And they finished us off in like 3 minutes. It was
no competition.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up real quick was Easter pageant, and because you and I were both involved with that, and I went back this year for the first time in years, and it's just like they've changed a little bit. They've made subtle improvements, but they use the same script and soundtrack, so the nostalgia is huge. But I do believe that one of the funniest pranks I ever saw relating to a campus event was when you and Jesus that year switched places at the tomb during that rehearsal, and Kyle was directing, and I remember y'all were like messing with him.
That was who was Jesus that year? It was Dennis. It was Dennis Greason.
Oh, was it that year? I thought it was 07 whenever.
Yeah. No, because I remember that's the semester I left. I didn't come back until the summer of 2008.
We did a few rehearsals though together. Like
I wasn't there. I was from the January to May of 2007. I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. I just remember you were gonna be like Judas or something.
I was gonna play Judas. I was gonna be Judas because me and at the time were really good friends, like one of my best friends. So we thought it would be funny for me to be the person to betray him. Which there's a surprise ending to that actual story. Won't go into that, but
I just remember you looking him in the eye when they were running through practice lines and everything, and you looked at him and there's like, and betrayed him with a kiss, and you looked at him and you're like, I'm gonna lay one on you during the actual thing.
Yeah. But no, I think that was Dennis Greason one year we were doing, or I can't remember his name. Whoever was, I know the situation that you're talking about. I was out there clowning. But that wasn't during an actual show. That was during a rehearsal.
No. We didn't mess up Easter pageant. It was during a rehearsal. It was the same. We did so many things with that. Like I remember when Tubbs was directing, he didn't think we were into it enough. So instead of the Jehovah Jireh song for the Hebrew dance, they put the Backstreet Boys on the speakers and were like, dance to this, remember how you dance, and do it again on the actual day of.
Well, one of the funniest guys from UMHB.
Oh, yeah.
One of the funniest guys. I actually talked to him today and I was like, hey, man, I'm going to be talking to Gary tonight. You want to see if you can just hop on? So whenever you get a chance, man, try to get him on here.
we'll get him on here. He, for those of you who don't know, on my other podcast, I had him and Preach both on last year. And Kyle has actually got degrees from UMHB and that other school in Abilene that we don't talk about very much. So that is, that's one we'll need to make happen for sure. But is there anything else we need to throw out on the Preach himself appearance on the Purple Gold and Getting Old podcast?
I just want to say thank you, man, for doing this podcast. It takes me back, helps me remember some fond things. It also challenges me on, some things that I look back now and say, well, what was I doing back then that I'm still doing now that I need to correct? So it's good. It's a little bit of loving the memories, getting some laughs in, but also reflecting and saying, well, how does this look today? Am I still that same infant child, terrible, adolescent, juvenile, doing all the stupid stuff? So I'm glad that y'all are doing this. Which, by the way, I'm not. I'm actually married now with one child. I got Aubrey Ann, so shout out to them, wifey Crystal and daughter Aubrey. But the greatest thing though is that y'all are, you and seeing your friendship with Tyler go all these years and still having that same passion and love for the school. And also shout out to Dr. Steve Theodore, one of the best people that has worked for the university outside of he is one of the best people.
Love the guy. Yeah. Love
anyway,
the guy.
Thanks for the opportunity, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We will get it posted soon.
I do want to say one thing, and this is just purely because I haven't said anything that probably is going to get bleeped, so I'm just going to say it now. So you can just edit it. I just want to see myself get censored on TV. Monkey right up the Thank you for having me, man.
Hey,
Love you to
thank you,
death.
brother.
Good
It's
to hear
good to
from
see you again.